reading the article, I noticed three major themes. The first one is expository text structures do matter. Knowledge of informational text structures in the preschool years supports the child later in their reading comprehension skills. Sequence and grammar text structures have similarities as well as many differences. It is important that children, specifically at the preschool age, have a general understanding of informational text structures, such as sequence, compare and contrast, and cause and effect, to support their reading comprehension abilities. Due to the similarities and differences in text structures, children, especially those with language impairments, may show success and challenges in navigating and comprehending expository text without guided exposure and repetition of these terms and skills. One way to support young children with repeated and guided exposure is through interactive book reading. This will benefit the child in reading comprehension as they grow. Another major theme that I noticed after reading the article is the importance of teacher-led scaffolding through interactive book reading. It is important that adults use language facilitation strategies to increase the child's engagement with expository text. To support a child's understanding and use of language structures and academic content found in the expository text is through language facilitation strategies. Strategies such as during interactive book reading, the adult uses questions and feedback to engage the child in book reading. In the article, it explains that Vygotsky stresses the importance of including social interaction in the learning process. An interactive book reading of expository text provides an engaging context for social interaction that is necessary to learn language structure and academic content, as long as the child is provided with appropriate support. Lastly, I noticed that targeted structure instruction benefits children with language impairments. Teaching students to identify signal words such as first, then, next, academic vocabulary, and science content found in expository writing improves receptive understanding in these areas. Exposure to syntactic structures via the language used in expository text can be useful for children with language impairments to build their understanding and use more sophisticated language structures. Expository science texts include academic vocabulary that is important to learn, but is not typically heard in daily interactions and communications. Therefore, making these great resources to use with children with language impairments who demonstrate more limited vocabulary than their peers. Expository text instruction through interactive book reading is developmentally appropriate for preschool children. Appropriate support is fundamental in acquiring new skills. Instruction using expository text for children with language impairments must be carefully thought through and planned. Important terms that I noticed as I read through the article were text structure, which is the organizational pattern of a text, language facilitation strategies, which are techniques that include literal and inferential questioning, extend the child's utterance through modeling responses and classroom discussions that encourage language use, interactive extension activities, which are hands-on follow-up activities for a child to participate in after reading, such as completing graphic organizers, dramatizations, or sequence mapping. And lastly, an academic vocabulary, which is topic-specific words that refer directly to the writing's content. Important details that I feel like a reader should gather after reading this article is, in over 8 weeks of text structure intervention, teachers and speech-language pathologists increased the use of language facilitation strategies during both interactive book reading and interactive extension activities. These practices demonstrated great success. Children with language impairments demonstrated significant growth in understanding signal words, academic vocabulary, and knowledge of science topics. The group of students showed an overall growth of approximately 21 points after text structure interventions using language facilitation strategies. The design of the program was they used expository picture books about plant life cycles were read 3 times a week for 8 weeks. During weeks 1 through 5, they focused on sequence text structure. Weeks 6 through 7, they introduced compare and contrast and cause and effect. And week 8, they combined all the text structures. Each of the book readings was paired with an extension activity that included graphic organizers and dramatizations. Suggestions I would make to educators after having a better understanding of these strategies are to include mini units during weekly instruction that include expository books. I would tell them to pick a nonfiction book that has a clear sequence structure, such as a process, life cycles, or step-by-step explanations. And read that same text multiple times per week, specifically highlighting the sequence signal words first, next, then that appear in the text. Then, scaffold the comprehension with guided questions, literal and inferential. Incorporate follow-up activities such as graphic organizers or a dramatization to reinforce the content and the structure of the text. I would also suggest to embed language facilitation strategies within reading and post-reading activities. Intentionally use language facilitation strategies such as modeling. So, for example, during reading, model the content that is being discussed. Extend the child's language by encouraging them to use academic vocabulary during discussions, and ask inferential questions to make the child use their critical thinking skills. Another example would be during snack. You could model sequence and vocabulary by stating, first, we wash our hands. Next, we get a napkin. Then, we eat our snack. And finally, we throw our trash away in the trash can. The use of language facilitation strategies can be greatly beneficial if they are used consistently during reading and during extension activities. One last suggestion that I would make to educators would be to collaborate with speech-language pathologists for co-teaching. Organize small groups with students with language impairments who receive different services throughout the week, such as special education services and speech-language services. Use a fidelity checklist or have a reflection session to ensure that each adult is demonstrating and using text structure terms, academic vocabulary, and topic knowledge across content, as it was demonstrated in the study. My top 3 suggestions that I would make to parents are read informational picture books multiple times with your child during the week. Choose a book that has clear sequence structure, such as a progress, life cycle, or step-by-step explanations. Read it with your child at least 3 times per week. The first time you read it, enjoy the reading. The second time you read it, identify words like first, next, and then ask your child simple questions about the sequence of the text. The third time you read it, play follow along. Ask your child to demonstrate the events that occur in the text. Another suggestion I would make is use everyday moments to teach sequence and vocabulary. During moments such as cooking or gardening, narrate each step that you take with signal words, such as, first we plant the seed, then we water it, next the seed will sprout and leaves will begin to grow. Finally, the flower will bloom. Be sure to introduce words that are related to the task and ask questions such as, if we don't water the flower, what do you think will happen? And lastly, I would suggest to turn reading into weekly interactive routines. After reading a book, encourage your child to participate in simple activities such as drawing pictures in the order of events that took place in the text, or ask your child to act out the events that took place. In summary, after reading the article Sequence Text Structure Intervention during interactive book reading of expository picture books with preschool children with language impairments, the study in the article demonstrates that preschoolers with language impairment can show significant improvement in their understanding of sequence structure, academic content, and academic vocabulary through structured intervention that is used through expository picture books, interactive reading, and extension activities. Key components in the intervention that were conducted were continuous exposure, explicit teaching of signal words and academic vocabulary, strategic questioning and feedback, and interactive post-reading activities, such as graphic organizations and dramatizations. Both parents and educators can apply these principles to their daily and weekly routines to enhance the child's language, syntax, and academic content learning in school and at home.